Hey everybody and welcome. I'm Matt, Senior Client Success Manager here at WHCC, and before we get started chatting with Matthew today, just a few reminders. If you haven't hit subscribe on the WHCC YouTube, make sure and do that so you get notified of cool stuff like we're going to do today. Follow along on Instagram, we're at WHCC Pro, and of course for all your product details and all the product options that WHCC has to offer, hit up WHCC.com. If you do have questions during the broadcast today, make sure and put them into the comments and we'll get Matthew to answer them while we're on the air. If you're watching this on the rewind, put them into the questions in the comments and we can track him down, and I'm sure he'd be happy to answer any questions you would have. So yes. With that, thank you for being here with us today.
Of course, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, it's really fun. You flew in from Indy last night.
Yep.
Hung out, and then you're here with us all day today.
I am.
Awesome. So for everybody watching along here today that is not familiar with who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're at, where you started, all that stuff.
So hello, my name is Matthew Orbaugh. I'm a senior portrait photographer based out of the Indianapolis area. And I have a story a little bit unique to me and kind of everything. But I actually started up with photography when I was 14 years old. It started as a COVID hobby back in 8th grade. And so when we could really only hang out with people outside, some friends wanted Instagram pictures, and I had gotten my little Canon Rebel for Christmas that year and had never touched it, sat in a box in the corner of my room. And so I was like, I'll use this. And then kind of from there, I was like, I like this. And so now here I am, 19 years old, full-time with photography. Junior year when I was talking with my parents, really kind of sitting down, figuring out what I wanted to do after high school. I was looking at my numbers and everything, and I was like, I like what I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Who needs college?
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Fantastic. Well, it's really fun to have you here today. And like I said when we were discussing, the content for today, we don't want to focus on your age, but we also want to respect at 19 years old what you've built already. And we're going to get a little bit deeper into that. But to start with, can you give your definition of an editorial style?
So to me, I kind of have two different looks on editorial. So if we're talking technically from my journalism background, that's something I was huge in high school. An editorial spread in a magazine is something that tells a story.
Yep.
And so where I'm kind of taking that into the senior world is really making sure you look at an image of mine and being like, wow, that just tells you something about where she is or what she's wearing, something like that, or something so insane that doesn't necessarily, again, tell a story. That's like, why is she wearing a full two-piece blazer set on a beach or something like that?
Right. Something just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, something just really cool and that really captures your attention and pulls you in.
Yeah, absolutely. So when we were talking, and I'm just going to read some of the points that you made, because I think it's really important for everybody that's listening today to understand how Matthew's mind works. So you touched on telling the story of the senior in a high fashion way.
Yep.
Where those are your words, involving the subject, the makeup.
Yep.
Seeing the whole scene with your photojournalism background, that comes very easily for you. Location, pose, light, outfit. So there's a lot of things that go into an editorial style. One thing that you have said several times, and we're showing some of your images here up on the screen, that what you're finding with the seniors you're working with is they like less close-ups, they like more environment. Is that something that is currently trending, or has it been for a while? Or?
I mean, as long as I've kind of been into it, a lot of girls, are like, oh, I don't like my face that big or whatever, and they just really kind of want to see the full picture. If we're at a pretty location, they want to see that pretty location. Right. So if I'm shooting somewhere with a cool house in the background, they want to see that house in the background. Or if, say, I'll show them one that's more close up, I've had times where they've been like, oh, I wish I could see the house in that one too. or something like that. So
that's interesting. And then how does that differ from the senior to the parent? Are they following suit, or does that create a stumble point between kid and mom and parent?
So I know a lot of people talk about like wanting to make sure that they're shooting for the parents and stuff too, but what I found, at least with my parents and in my area and everything, a lot of the parents, when they're looking at things they want on the walls, they want those cool scenic images too, that look like an art piece.
Yeah.
Unless, I don't want to say less like their kid, that sounds so bad.
Less of their child, they see them enough.
They want, I don't know, to just really incorporate kind of everything into it and really match, I guess, their home decor and stuff like that.
Well, and we all know too, when you're selling product, which you're doing, wall display albums, all the things like that, what you are showing in your space is what people ultimately are going to gravitate towards. You're the subject matter expert. If you're showing bigger landscape, broad range images, people are going to be like, oh, cool, that's what he does.
Yeah.
So why would I expect something different? Yeah.
So in my studio, I do keep a good mix. Like I think I was showing you, I have one really close up headshot on the wall, and then kind of right over to the side is a big environmental shot showing a cool area.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So one of the things that really, makes your work stand out is the fashion side of it. Yeah. Now, in the Midwest, and I would consider where you're at in the Midwest, sometimes the fashion isn't super diverse. You know? So what do you do to fix that? Even though I know the answer to it, they don't know the answer to it.
So basically, I am the type of person who gets bored really easily. And so I was sick of shooting the same white Free People dress, the same maxi dress. I'm sure you all know what I'm talking about. And so I was kind of looking at some other photographers who had a style closet, and I was like, this I like.
Yeah.
I love spending money. It's one of my favorite activities.
Me too.
Yeah, it's so fun. I mean, the joy of swiping a card, so good. But yeah, I was kind of just looking at that, and I was like, I want to do this. And it's also pushing the girls out of their comfort zone, because I'm filling that closet with things that they're not normally going to gravitate towards.
Right.
I like crazy items. I want stuff that's gonna, not only they're gonna love, but also gonna fill my creative bucket at the end of the day.
And that's awesome that you're respecting your own creativity and doing things because you love to do them. So we're gonna show a quick video. Okay. And I was on Instagram one night scrolling, and I follow you on there, and this popped up, and I just love it. Can you just kind of talk us through or towards the top?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That one. I mean, I had people texting me that day being like,
I think I was one of them.
Yes. No, we'd gotten on a call the morning after, and you're like, that real. But like I had like old teachers of mine and stuff that have followed me, and parents of seniors and everything being like, this is you.
That's fantastic. And that's great that it follows your personality, and we've talked on the phone and Zoom and stuff, but to be with you in person, that is you.
Yeah.
Like that is you, and that's fantastic. So for somebody who is watching along, and of course the images behind us, you're seeing a lot of different, more edgier fashion.
Yeah.
Somebody who wants to do a style closet, like, is it a massive investment? Is it like, can you go through vintage stores and Goodwill and find cool stuff? Like, what are some of your sources? So my thing is, anything in my closet, I do not spend over $120 on a piece. I'm constantly stocking Poshmark, thrift stores, eBay, Facebook groups, all sorts of stuff like that to find, because I mean, you can find great Free People dresses that are retailing for $300-400, brand new with tags for, I've gotten them as cheap as $12. Wow. So it does not have to be a huge investment up front if you want. I'm very much a big go big or go home kind of person. Yeah. So I wanted it to be that way, just to kind of have it. But I recommend starting small. Accessories like hats, necklaces, jackets are a big one. Yeah. A jacket and a hat are something that can level up an outfit and take it from 0 to 10 like that. Yeah, that's awesome. And you were saying this morning, like when we were talking through the images on the wall, that you're using this as an addition to the outfits that they're bringing in. Yes. So you're not really taking over the style of the session. You're doing this as an add-on for you, for them, for really cool marketing images, for reels, for all that kind of stuff. So what I kind of say to them is, I'm like, you can't, if you want to use every single one of your outfits from the style closet, you can. If you don't want to use a thing, that's great too. Yeah. It all is just going to depend on the girl and really who
is in my studio at that point in time. I definitely have had ones who are like, yep, I want this, this, and this, and are picking the craziest things I have in my closet. And then I have ones that walk in and go, where's the white dress?
Yeah.
And I'm like, not here.
You're gonna have to look online for that. Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that you, when you were sending us images to print for today and to show, you sent a storyboard.
Yes.
Which is one of your products, and you said this was one of your favorite ones.
Yes.
So we're actually going to put that up on the screen, and it's actually hanging over your back right shoulder here. Talk to us about this and why this means so much to you, and how it's translating into sales for product for you.
So this storyboard in specific is really special to me. This has been, that girl right there has probably been my best friend since I was about 5 or 6. We've been through so much together, attended grandparents' funerals, holidays together, birthdays, family dinners. She's the type of friend, I say, who can walk into my house at any time and open up the fridge and take what she wants.
That's a good friend.
She really has become family over these years. And I know my parents look at her as one of their own, and her parents do the same for me.
Yeah.
But I really like these storyboards because, one, you can take so many images and put them in one spot for the wall. But then also it's really telling so many different things about her. She has her cheerleading uniform. She has her dad's vintage Bronco.
Yeah, the Bronco's awesome.
Yeah, the Bronco is so cool. The record store, a jacket that her and her sister hand painted, her pointing up to a "You Are Beautiful" sign.
Yeah.
And then just a pretty one in a dress on the beach. Because,
Yeah.
Gotta have that.
Right.
But it really, you look at that, and if you know her, you're like, yep, that's Macy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And what you're really doing is you're telling the story of her, as a human being.
Yep.
It's not a single image. You're basically creating like an album spread for the wall.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm designing them in Fundy on an album designer, and that's probably the same layout I've put in an album a couple times too. But
yeah, that's awesome. So when you are out photographing, are you pre-thinking of these types of products for albums, for your storyboard, where you have to have depth within the editorial style session to be able to build these things?
So yes and no. I'm very much like squirrel. And so if I see something I like, I'm going to want to shoot it.
Yep.
So I guess where that really comes into play is when I'm culling down my images and looking at how can we have such a diverse gallery and only 70 images or so. So I feel like that's pretty much where it comes into play. But yes, while I am shooting, though, I do keep in mind and are pointing out to the clients if one shows up that's a landscape image, I'm like, oh, that would look so cool as a full spread in an album or on a medal or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. And it's good to feed those things in during the session because it already gets them thinking about the product that they're going to buy.
For sure.
So a few of the things that you said, during the time that we were talking about the content today, really sticks with me, and I think it's really good for everybody that's listening today to hear this because, you are 19. You are within 2 years of age of the people you're photographing.
Yep.
You have a finger on the pulse for what's cool, what's trendy, what's stylish. The music, all the things, and the couple things that you said to me that really stuck were everybody's gravitating towards something that's not overly edited and still looks like me.
Yep.
And that is your quote. So with the ability of AI and everything that can happen in that world, from somebody who is very close in age to these seniors, what do you think they want? Because I know photographers are famous for being like, I want to do the craziest stuff.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, is that really what the client wants?
It's not. Those girls want to look like themselves. They don't want overly photoshopped. They want to be able to see pores, and not just zooming in and, I can see pores when I'm at 200% in Lightroom. They want to be able to look at it and be, that's me. And so, I guess that's really their main priority.
So what do you feel is causing that trend? Is it the over-filtered, fake online? Like, what do you think is driving that, I want to look like me?
So I think, especially in the last few years, there's been a huge, I don't want to say like resurgence, but a lot of focus on, when you look at makeup, the no makeup looks, the natural beauty, and really just kind of looking at that aspect of everything. And so I think it's a mix of girls really identifying that with that being like, yes, I am gorgeous just how I am, but then also a little bit of, oh yeah, this is trendy, so I need to do this. But I look at it really from the perspective of, I want these girls to see their true beauty. And I've had girls on my senior team and stuff who have come in getting kicked out of friend groups, heavily bullied, hate who they are as people. And I've gotten letters at the end of the year that have made me bawl my eyes out reading them, letting me know that the things I've done for their confidence and how helping them out through this time, through the art of photography, has been so important to them. I think high school can be such an awful time for so many people, and I know it definitely was not the best for me. Kids can be mean, really mean. And so if they're showing up, and even if it's just for 2.5 hours, I'm making them forget about everything else, I've done my job.
Yeah. Well, that's a testament to who you are, and that's an art in itself, you know. And another thing, a quote that you said during our conversation was, you want to showcase who they are, but on their very best day.
Yep.
And that is really cool. And what you just described before that, life can be hard. Social media is hard. You know, I grew up in a time where there wasn't such a thing.
Yeah.
You know, so my experience in high school, even though I'm just a few years older than you, it was much different. Everybody's laughing in the room right now. They don't believe that I'm just a few years older than you. Is very different from what you experienced, what they're experiencing. So to be able to put that on the shelf for 2.5 hours and to have that impact, that's a tremendous feather in your cap. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So let's dive back into the style of the session here a little bit, because I'm going to tell whoever's watching here today to create fashion, style, editorial shoots is not just something you can snap your finger and do.
No.
It takes a lot of
planning,
playing, practice, skill, light. Like we were having the discussion in the car this morning, about how Tara Rochelle loves hard light and how difficult that is to really go out and do. So without being a micromanager of the session and still making the senior feel like they're part of it, you have created this PDF document. That you send out, and we're going to show that. I think it's like 6 pages. So obviously you're not going to be able to like read every part of this, but let's go through this in paraphrase, Matthew, like the things that you're pulling out of this and using for those sessions.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the first main thing that I'm looking at on the questionnaire. I think it might actually be the bottom question on there. Is I have them create a Pinterest board with locations they like, poses, hair and makeup ideas, outfit ideas, all that kind of stuff, so that when they're showing up to their style consult, I already have pieces pulled from the closet that I'm like, oh, I think you'll really like this outfit.
Okay. So you're doing that before they get there?
Yep, absolutely. I'm really looking at what their likes and dislikes are. I ask them their Starbucks order so that when they show up for hair and makeup, they got a Starbucks.
Nice.
Is that benefiting me too because I get one for myself? Absolutely. But yeah, I'm asking them stuff like that. I'm asking them what they really want out of their session, what social medias they're using, all sorts of just stuff like that to really get to know who they are at this time in their lives. So I can craft the session fully tailored to them.
And are you just texting, emailing? How are you getting this PDF to them?
So I'm a big fan of Iris for my CRM. I have it scheduled to go out, so they're getting that through email. But then at a certain point in the experience, I get bored of email, and I'm like, just text me, it's easier. So then we have a group chat with them. I have a group chat with them and their parent, and then we really kind of do all the planning and stuff from there.
That's cool. And are you getting people to fill this out 100% of the time? Are you getting it back?
I make sure they do. So I say, this better be filled out before your style questionnaire. Obviously, don't say it that aggressive. But, or if for some reason they don't, I'm asking them those questions when they're in their style consult.
Got it. So this is really, not online consultation, but it's kind of a way for you to get that consultation in to really know all your talking points, the style points, all that. So you're designing the session with them in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and not just taking over completely. So I know that we've touched on your creativity, but like if you were going to give me the elevator speech on what fills your creative bucket, what is that speech?
That's a good question.
I know, right?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I mean, again, squirrel.
Yeah.
What fills my creative bucket is just an image is creating an image that either I look at or most of the time that both me and the girl look at and go, wow. Mm-hmm. That is really what kind of fills me up. And then the process that it took to create that, putting together the outfit, planning out the hair and makeup looks, collaborating with my hair and makeup artist, having the girls bring in different pieces too. Oh, this jacket you have from home would look so good with this dress and boots I have in my closet. Yep. Just really, I guess what fills my creative bucket is that art of collaboration to create such a cool final product.
That's a great quote right there.
Thank you.
You should put that on a t-shirt.
I will. Or a mug.
And a mug, yeah, exactly. That's fantastic. So again, like we've already touched on this, and like I said to begin with, I'm not gonna just like cram that you're 19-year-olds down everybody's throat here, but I do want to respect that and have everybody understand at 19, you're doing things that people that have been in business for 10, 15, 20 years have maybe not achieved. You know, and you've done that in a very short amount of time, which that's amazing. You have an in-person sales process. Mm-hmm. You have a brick and mortar studio that is decorated. You have a client base. You know, you have pricing structure. Mm-hmm. You have a wonderful circle of friends in the industry, which we're going to talk about a little bit. You know, and the drive to go get it. Yep. Which is awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your studio and your sales process. Mm-hmm. How long have you had the brick and mortar space?
So I got into my studio space in like October, November. Okay. So not too long, but I've loved having it.
Yeah. And before you had that, obviously you were doing everything on location for sessions, but for your sales process, how were you doing it prior to the studio?
So this was really my first year doing IPS. So up until I graduated high school, I was all inclusive. And then I had a front room in my house that my mom's huge into interior design and all that kind of stuff, and it looked really great. And I was like, can I use this for some sales sessions? Yep. And so that's kind of what I was doing in that regard. So I was really lucky to have parents that were so supportive and, again, letting me use the front room of our house to sell.
Yeah, no, fantastic. It's very interesting because, you know, my mom was an interior designer too, and I was in photography, and your mom was interior.
Same name.
Right, same name, but you're taller than I am, which doesn't happen very often. Edie grabbed a picture of us this morning that proves it. Okay. Go ahead.
And I was lucky enough too. I mean, she even let me put up a canvas collection of random girls she had never, well, I guess 2 of them she had met, but random girls. Like, again, first thing you see when when you walk in our house is someone else's kids. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Sounds like a good mom.
Yes, she's the best.
Yeah. So when we were talking about, you know, your community, your tribe, your people that you're really hanging out with, Sean Brown.
Love him.
Yep, we do too. Vicky Black.
The best.
Push Conference, Terry Rochelle.
What a woman.
Jen Ren Pro.
Yeah, I don't know her too well.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
We can tell you that. I love her work. Yeah. I love her work.
Yeah, for sure. So you specifically called out in summer of 24, you did a mentorship with Tara.
That, I would say, is really the mentorship that kind of changed everything for me in terms of creating relationships, getting connected with Senior Style Guide, and really finding my style and what I wanted my images to look like. I would say to anyone that find someone you admire, and if they offer an in-person mentorship, do it. Yeah. No matter where you're at in your business, I think it's so important to always continue to keep educating yourself and learning how you can become the best photographer possible. But I think I owe so much to Tara, and that woman is truly one of the best people I've ever met. Yeah. And I stand by that statement.
And she's so quiet and reserved too.
So quiet, so reserved.
And doesn't like confetti at all.
No, you never know when she's in a room.
Yeah, right. She just hides in the corner.
Yeah, that's Tara. Yeah.
Yeah. So talk to us about the Hot 100.
Yes, so this was my first year entering the Senior Style Guide Hot 100 contest. And so I entered a whole bunch of images and stuff, and I was lucky enough to earn one of the influencer titles, which means 5 or more of my images was selected.
That's awesome.
I think 6 or 7 of mine. But when the list was announced, I didn't even know that I had won. My friend Shauna called me and was like, hey influencer. And I was like, what? It was like, I think I'd posted a reel the night before. I was like, oh, is it doing well? Like, I was like, okay. And then she was like, no, go open your Facebook. And I was like, okay. And so I did, and I was like, holy whoa.
Yeah, that's awesome. And out of was there like 6,500
Yeah.
images that were submitted?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's,
It was a huge honor.
Yeah.
And something really cool to kind of, this is my 5th year in business, so to kind of have that on
So
year
crazy.
5. Yeah.
The 5th year in business. Everybody get that? Well, and I really appreciate, how you are, friends with wonderful people in the industry. Like when you surround yourself by good people, whatever industry you're in, it doesn't have to be photography, whatever your passion is and that you fit and you're on the same frequency, you can't help but learn.
Oh,
You're like a
1000%.
sponge because you just want to pick that stuff up and you admire these people, and Sean and Vicky and Tara, they're the best.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
1000. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But just don't tell Sean that. He'll get a big head. So good topic that I think we want to spend a little time on here. Again, 19.
Yeah.
So your mindset of a brick and mortar studio, in-person sales, having a price, price list, product list, print as it is, being focused on these things and being able to be an entrepreneur and build a business 5 years at the age of 14, which is kind of making me like, wow. That differs a lot from most people your age. So at what point did you realize, like, okay, I'm 14, it's 2020, I can't do anything, I need to do something positive to fill my time and my creativity? I think a lot of people did that.
Yeah.
We all picked up little things like we cooked, Kelly and I cooked a bunch, but I'm not a chef right now, But when did you realize, like, this is a lucrative career? I can do this. I can make substantially more and fill my creative bucket than the majority of my friends who are off at college. Like, how do you differ in that from everybody? How is your mindset different?
So, winter of 2020, some family friends of ours wanted family pictures for a Christmas card, and I was like, I'll do them. I was the guy with the nice camera at that point.
Yep. The one that was in the corner for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A good little Canon Rebel T6.
Yep.
I think for that session too, I had borrowed one of my mom's best friends is a wedding photographer, and so I think she let me borrow her 51.2, and I was like, ooh, this is big, like this big deal.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? Oh, so I had done those or whatever, delivered them, and then the friend's mom showed up at my house the next day and handed me a card, and in the card there was money in it. And in my mind, I was like, ding. I'm not working at a fast food place or retail like any of my friends. This is what I'm doing. If I can make money off of this, hell yeah, I'm going to do it.
That's awesome. And then from there, it just grew.
It just
and grew.
Grew and grew and grew. I think one thing that I did a lot too is I think so many people are afraid of asking for the client, or afraid to reach out to people saying, hey, do you need updated pictures or whatever? And that was one thing I was never afraid of. I had no problem hopping on Facebook Messenger, messaging the family friend I hadn't seen in 3 years, being like, hey, you want pictures? I think that, especially in the beginning stages, is so important, and really kind of asserting yourself as, I'm the business owner here, do you want to work together? I think that can help so much in the beginning stages.
Yeah, so you're really, with that being said, and that's another good quote, asserting yourself.
Yeah.
I am the business owner. I am the CEO of my business. I work for the business. I'm going to do the things that are best for the business. And again, at 19, that's pretty darn impressive. I do like the story of your childhood. Do you want to share that about the lemonade?
So, I was having a lemonade stand at the ripe age of like 4 or 5.
Yep.
And so I was just on the corner of my house, whatever, and my brother and my dad walk up, and they're like, Matthew, we want some lemonade. And I go, okay, the lemonade's 25 cents. And they're like, all right, hand me a quarter. And I go, but the cup's $1.25. And so I think I've always kind of had that
entrepreneurial
look into my
spirit.
mind, or just that really spunky attitude. I mean, I was telling you this morning about how at Kings Island and I saw Dora. I walked up to her and asked her why she always wears the same outfit. So
It's time to change it up a bit, Dora.
exactly. Again, like I said, multiple seasons wearing the same thing gets a little stale.
Right.
So
You're awesome. And I love about you, like you're funny, you're witty, but you also have that nostalgic personality. You know, you were saying on our call that you, even when you're at the studio sometimes, you'll sit down and you'll grab an album like we're going to show here pretty soon, and you'll just sit down and flip through it.
yeah,
That you don't want images to just live on a camera roll.
yeah.
Yeah. So when you're working with seniors, do you feel that they relate better to you at 19 than maybe, say, if I was, you know, at 50 or 51? You know, like, is that a closeness that can't be reproduced by somebody that's older?
I think it just comes down to them trusting me. And when I'm saying something, they really are listening, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that is a good idea," or "Oh yeah, we should do that." They're looking at it more as, "Oh, this is one of my peers." I think, in a sense, rather than "Oh, this is the 40-year-old woman my mom hired."
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Whoop-de-doo.
Whoop-de-doo. And you're cool, and you do fun reels, and you have a style closet.
I do.
And you have vintage Walmart.
Vintage Walmart.
Now think about those two words together.
Yes.
Like, I would have never guessed
Yeah,
that.
I mean, that style closet got it all. We got Free People for Lovin' Lemons, Vintage Walmart, Sheen. Every budget you could possibly think of is in that closet.
Absolutely. So I'm going to flip that question around that I
Yeah.
just asked you about, you know, being able to relate to the seniors, because at the end of the day, you are the CEO, you're the business owner, so you need to make money to pay for the studio, for yourself, for your
Yep.
food, for the Cane's Chicken Fingers, all the things that you love.
Absolutely.
How do the parents relate to you? Is it good, or is it a challenge at 19?
I think I have had less of a challenge than most would think in terms of getting the parents to really listen and stuff. I think they're looking at it as like oh, he's reiterating what we've been saying this whole time, but our daughter's listening to him. And so we like this. We like how he's making her feel. We like that he's funny. And anytime I'm getting a testimonial back from a client, it always is coming down to there's always something in there about my personality and how I made their child feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for parents to see, especially again at this time in their lives when, again, kids can be so mean. And I've had moms cry in sessions and everything, just because they're like, I'm so glad that you're helping my daughter finally see the beauty that I've seen her whole life.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And they feel so comfortable with you.
Yes,
because
for
of
sure.
that. That's awesome. And I do want to hit on this because you said it when we were talking, but you haven't said it yet today, that you feel that there is a validity that comes with the studio. If there is a challenge from a parent or a question,
Yeah.
you know, having a brick and mortar space, they are walking into your business,
Yep.
they are seeing prints on the wall, and we're actually working on a studio redesign for you now
Yes.
with cool new stuff. We're going to see a big metal grouping being pressed this afternoon. That just reinforces that you are in fact a business owner, that you were successful at age 19, and you're darn good at what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I'm sure, you know, for everybody that's listening, if you are, you know, inspired, you know, by Matthew and his story, and you're younger or you're older, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The ability to reinforce the validity of what you do within the market, especially for product sales,
Yeah.
is really important.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing that just I really want to emphasize too is the importance of the mentor, the people to help.
Yep.
You know, the people that can help you get to where, you know, you want to be. And like, you know, just from my own personal perspective, you know, like Mike Handline from White House is one of my big mentors in the business, and I attribute a lot of the success that I've had to him, you know, and finding those people like Sean and Vicky and Tara to help. If you have your tribe, you know, whoever's listening, if you don't have that, find that. Yeah. And we were just mentioning, you know, Push Conference is coming up. We're going to both be at that.
Yep.
Which is super cool. One more question, and I want to show this amazing display album before we get off our broadcast here. So tell us how you structure your sale and your in-person sale process and how you're introducing product to your clients. And I'm just going to pull this up quick.
Yes. So my thing is that I want every one of my clients to walk away with an album. They're my favorites, and it's also a product they can't say no to. You don't have space for an album.
It just sells itself.
Yeah. They say they don't have space for an album. Maybe it's time to Marie Kondo your house a little bit.
I would agree. So tell us what this is.
So, to me, an album is just a cool piece of art. I think this right here is going to be an 8x12 album with a metal cover. What's this called? Camel?
I believe it's camel leatherette.
Yes.
That's what that is. Black end cheese.
Yep. Lay flat pages, thick.
Yep. Thick white inserts.
Yep.
And this is printed on photo luster.
Yes.
And I'm going to get to your favorite spread here. Now, it's also good to note that we watched this being made this morning.
Yes, it was so cool.
Yep, so Matthew got to see the block being built, the team that does the covers. Our albums team is just second to none. They're all fantastic.
I mean, it was crazy. She knew what I'm normally ordering, my sizes, my fabrics I've normally done. Oh, I don't think you've done this one before.
Right.
Or when I got a notification that an album had just been delivered.
And she was like, oh yeah, that was the one we did.
Like, oh yeah, it was this fabric, the girl looked like this date on the front. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Now I stopped on this because I know this is your favorite spread.
I love that spread.
Yeah. What is this? What is it about this spread that you love so much? I'm curious.
I think, one, it's just badass. Like, I mean, look at her. But also, I just love how simple and clean and sleek and how it feels like a coffee table book. It doesn't feel like one of those ugly Shutterfly albums that has like flowers and scrapbook paper on it. No one wants that.
That's another good quote right there.
Yeah, I mean, I've never met a single senior who wants that. They like, again, the clean design, and it just really, again, feels so high-end and cool and luxe.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. Beautiful. Fantastic job. And it's really fun that you got to see this be made. And, you know, for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to you know, to visit the lab, if you are in the area, we'd love to do tours. It's really fun to be able to see something come to life, and there is no magic button. Like, there's no button that you just push and this thing magically comes out the other end. This has a lot of human involvement in it, you know, and that's fantastic.
Especially in terms of how the cover was being made. I mean, those machines don't even use power.
Right.
It was all
manual.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was crazy. I mean, Edie said something. She was like, it's so funny how this brand new machine you got looks straight out of a 1900s printing press. Right. It's so funny.
And it's 1,200 pounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
we're not just going to throw that around.
No.
Awesome. Well, this has been fantastic.
Yes, it's been incredible.
You know, the business that you've built, your editorial style, your entrepreneurial spirit, you know, your personality it's going to be a wonderful success for your life.
Thank you.
Just know it.
Thank you so much.
We really appreciate you being here with us. If you do have questions, if you're watching the rewind of this and you want us to get that answer from Matthew, feel free to put them into the comments. We'd be happy to track him down. And just a quick reminder, if you haven't followed along on the WHCC YouTube, make sure and hit subscribe on that. Follow us on Instagram at WHCC Pro. And for all your product details, questions, options, all that stuff, check out WHCC.com. I'm Matt with Matthew Orbaugh. Thanks again for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you at the next one.